Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Today's topic is the professional office worker. And so we're going to be talking about a lot of the skills and things needed by office workers in a professional environment. What should a proper office worker look like in terms of qualifications, skills, personality? These are the things that we're going to talk about here. It's important to know because we find that a lot of times there are questions related to these things where you have to write memos or letters. They ask you to maybe offer some advice to someone. And so you need to be able to tell them, well, what is expected of an office worker if you're going to offer advice, or say what qualifications are needed for a particular position. All of these things are where this information tends to come up, or I've seen the information come up in the BGCSE. So let's get started. Of course, welcome to the virtual space. Let's work together to learn, share ideas, participate, and learn something new. The wise always seeks knowledge. First things first, what are some skills needed for an office worker? And so I'm going to start off by clarifying some things because there are about 2 words that are used sometimes when they may ask a question. They may ask you to give some skills, or they may ask you to give some qualifications or some traits. And you have to understand the difference so that you answer the question appropriately. When we look at skills, skills are abilities that someone has learned and usually requires practice. And so these are things that maybe you're not naturally born with. It's not a part of your personality, but it's something that you learned how to do, or you know how to do very well over a period of time. So things like literacy, being able to read, you learn that from school. Numeracy, being able to count and work with numbers, you learn that from school as well. Proper handwriting, grammar, computer skills, communication skills, whether it be oral or written. Proper communication skills are essential. We have time management, organization, independence, and problem solving. These are when persons are looking for individuals to fill positions in an office space. These are the minimum requirements. They expect you to be able to do these things. They expect you to be able to read. They expect you to be able to count and add numbers together. They expect you to be able to write. They expect you to be able to understand words, that if you're asked to write something, you know how to put sentences together in proper grammar and proper format. They expect, especially nowadays, that if you come into an office job, if they present you with a computer, you know where to start. They expect you to know how to communicate well with others, whether it's responding in writing or responding orally or verbally. They expect that. They expect you to understand how to manage your time, not realize when you're spending too much time on something, or being able to get to all of the tasks that they give you. That's a part of time management. They expect you to be organized, because organization in the workplace always leads to better work getting completed, and it leads to a smoother process in the office. They expect you to be able to work independently. It's easy to get work and you assign a task, but nobody wants to babysit somebody in the workspace. And so one of the things they expect, or they would really like, is that you're independent and able to be given work and complete tasks on your own, where possible. Of course, it's not always possible, but in most instances, you're able to complete tasks on your own. Then we have problem solving. Not everybody wants to be bothered 24/7. And so a big part of office work and just work in general is being able to solve a problem, trying to solve the problem first yourself before involving somebody else. These are skills. You're not born with them, but over time, you learn how to do them and you learn how to get better at them as well. Traits. Next, are traits or attributes or characteristics someone is usually born with and develop over time. Have you ever looked at some people and you look at them and you can see that that person is just a difficult person? They're neat freak. They maybe have some OCD traits that you don't like. That's a part of their personality. Their personality. It's hard to take that away from them. And so these are what are your traits. These are considered to be your traits. Being cooperative, so working well with others. Being tolerant, understanding that things happen and sometimes you have to be understanding and say, okay, I understand. Or being able to tolerate sometimes that others are different, or that people do things differently, or that things may not always work out. Being diverse, being accepting of others, being aware, paying attention to legal aspects of your business, paying attention to the social aspects of your business, knowing that some things just shouldn't be done. And that comes with a certain level of being aware, knowing that, maybe you shouldn't, if you're working for a company that throws away garbage, okay, have an ethical awareness. You can't just allow garbage to be left, because that's a part of the environment, and actually caring about these things. That's a different level of awareness. Some people have a whole lot more, but it's a trait, being aware, being socially and environmentally responsible, being conscious, so caring about others and paying attention and noticing things, being efficient, and efficient being able to complete your task, yes, in a timely manner while still being correct. Because you're inefficient if you're given a task and you never get it done. It takes maybe 15 minutes, and let's say you get it done, but you get it done in 3 hours, but you wasted a lot of time. You haven't been efficient in what you're doing. Being consistent, being punctual, which means being on time, being ethical, which is thinking before you act, thinking, okay, how does this affect others, before you do something or before you write something. Integrity, having some standards, being honest, being willing to actually learn, being willing to do something that's outside of your comfort zone, as opposed to just saying, okay, no, I don't want to. Being neat, being tidy, being confident, and having high self-esteem. All of these are desired traits that anybody that's hiring office staff or any staff in general would be more than happy for that individual to have. And so if you ever ask any questions about traits of a particular office worker, in most instances, no matter which department it's in, these traits are acceptable no matter what position. As an accountant or as a accounts clerk, you want to be honest. You want to have integrity. You want to be punctual. You want to be cooperative. The same thing can be said about somebody that's answering the phones. The same thing can be said about someone who is a driver for somebody. All of these things you want persons to have. And so traits tend to be general and across the board, not specific to a role, because anybody in an office space or working should have these traits. Why are relationships even important in the office? Why is any of this important? Why do we need some of those traits? Because some of those traits are related to getting along with persons, being cooperative, being willing. All of that affects the relationship with you and the persons that you're working with. And so why is it important? It helps you to be more productive. Oftentimes in a business setting, you cannot be as productive as you want to be without the help of others. And so if you have bad relationships within the office space, then it's going to be difficult to work with others and get things done. Workers work best when they're happy, and persons are more willing to be helpful and go out of the way to assist you in the workplace if they are pleased or if you have a good relationship. And so it's important to put out there that, hey, we need to make sure we have good relationships in the office space as well. You want to always try to be courteous. You want to treat others with respect. You want to be helpful as possible and as pleasant as possible. It may be frustrating in the beginning, but oftentimes If persons come back and look for somebody, maybe that can fill another role or for a promotion, these are the things that they look for. You want to make sure you consider the feelings of others and then think before you act or say. When you have in an office space, you're going to have persons that are above you. You're going to have persons on the same level as you. You're going to have persons below you, and you're going to have persons outside of the office that you have to deal with. And so those relationships matter. And so when we talk about persons above you, your supervisors, you want to make sure that you're as helpful as possible to them. You want to make sure that you help them by trying to solve some problems first before you bring it on to them. Nobody likes somebody that doesn't take the time to think before they bring a problem, or that doesn't attempt something before they bring it to their attention. And so to make sure you have good relationships with supervisors, you want to make sure that you try not to bother them for little things you can do or somebody else can assist with. And then, of course, they're going to have their requests from you. You want to make sure you prioritize their requests. They're supervisors. So if your supervisor asks you to do something, that most likely is going to be more important than some other things that you're doing. When we look at our colleagues or persons that we work with, maybe on the same level as us or below, doesn't matter. They're just not your supervisor. You want to try to keep a good relationship with them as well. Be courteous, be nice. If they share things with you, try not to turn it into gossip. Respect their opinions, respect how they feel, ask them how they're doing, be concerned about your colleagues. That's something that's very important to relationships. And then, of course, for clients or customers or persons outside of the office space you work with, you want to make sure help them as best as possible. If it's something that you don't know, let them know that you're going to find out for them and go the extra mile to provide good service to them. And that helps to make the relationship a whole lot better. Always be approachable, always be friendly, and always be willing to help. All right. So when we talk about the office space and working in an office space, we talked about traits, we talk about skills. Now there's some things that are qualifications that you'll find, let's say on a resume or a job ad where they're looking for somebody in particular. Normally they say what qualifications they want. And so qualifications include education requirements, experience requirements, skills and personal qualities that a person brings to the table. And so we talked about the skills and personal qualities. So skills and then personal qualities or traits. Now let's talk about things like education and experience. And so education and experience falls a little differently from skills and personal qualities or traits because these things are very specific to the position or the role that a person is trying to get. Of course, if you are starting up or you're trying to become an IT professional, an information technology or computer person in a company, you have certain skills you're going to have, yes, but depending on where you're going in the company, your position that you're applying for, they're expecting you to have some type of education or experience in the area. The more education, the more experience you have, the more likely you are to get a better position, the more likely you are for promotions, all of these things. And so, of course, somebody coming in with a preschool degree may not be an ideal person to fill in a computer role if they've never worked with computers. Sometimes you don't need to have both the education and the experience backed up, but you need to at least have one of them. I could understand maybe somebody who was a preschool teacher, but maybe they handled the computer aspect of their school. Well, then I can understand them applying or trying to get into an office role in IT because maybe they don't have the education, but they have the experience. And so as office workers, you're expected to have the relevant education or experience for a particular position in order to fill that role. And so they have 4 clusters that they normally put these positions, types of positions into. The first 2 are here. Word processing. Word processing is going to be anybody that has to do or is involved with preparing documents. So like prepare letters and memos and reports and minutes and things like that. In order to be a word processor, or in order to complete tasks that are word processing, you need to have certain skills. You need to be able to type. You need to be able to edit documents and understand what that is. You have to have good grammar. You have to have good punctuation. You have to know how to format documents, so how a document should look. Somebody asks you to write a letter, you should know what that looks like. And you should be well with meeting deadlines, because if you're typing something for someone, that means they need it. And so being able to complete typing tasks and word processing tasks in a timely manner is key. And so persons that normally need these particular word processing and basic skills are like your typists, or persons that just sit down and they type documents all day, or they type information all day. People like secretaries. Secretaries normally work for individuals. Most of the times they work for a manager or a supervisor or someone, and they assist with tasks that that individual possibly can't do. They normally have some type of supervisory or managerial role, and the secretary helps them if they have documents to type, if they have something to proofread, read over and make corrections. They help them by keeping their schedules, different things like that. And so you need some type of word processing skill as a secretary. Engineers as well oftentimes have to put together a lot of information, and so you need to be able to type, and you need to be able to put together manuals or put together processes. Advertising is the same thing. You have to be able to prepare things like ads, a radio things, television ads. You have to be able to put that information together to get persons to buy from the business. And so that's where word processing comes in. Very helpful, very basic area that touches just about every office position, because you have to create documents in almost every position. Next, we have data processing, which involves collecting, manipulating, and distributing information, usually in the form of figures. So data, when we think of data, data is just information that's out there that's just, I guess, coming into an office. Data processing involves organizing that data. So maybe you have multiple customers coming in and making purchases, asking for quotes. Without a data processor, there's no way to be able to pull up a listing of your customers. There's no way to be able to identify, well, which customer purchases the most from us so that we can send them a gift, or which customer barely purchases from us so that we can give them a call. There's no way to understand the information, the raw information that comes into a business without a data processor. And so they put information together in a way that makes it easier for the business to work. So creating things like tables, invoices, purchase order report, or orange or something like that. You want to pick colors that are a lot more subtle when you go in your work environment. You want to wear dress pants, not jeans, not joggers. You want to make sure whatever pants you wear aren't too tight, they're comfortable, and they're appropriate for work. If you're wearing ties at work, the tie should be simple, not too fussy. A straight color tie or a simple colored tie with those basic colors within is appropriate. If you're going to wear a watch, you can wear watches, of course, simple watches, simple, elegant, or decent watches, cufflinks if you have to. Of course, that goes with those formal attires as well. Shirts should be collared. Collared shirts always look more work appropriate. And so you want to stay away from t-shirts and go for more like shirts with collars and buttons. You can have some color in it, but just not too much going on in the shirt. The shirt should be conservative. It's like it says here, blue, burgundy, gray, all work well in a work environment. With shoes, you want to select neutral color shoes, simple shoes. You don't, of course, want to have dressed up with tennis. Doesn't maybe fashion outside, but inside of a work environment, you want to make sure you have appropriate dress shoes if you're formal, or appropriate everyday shoes if you are working in an environment that's not very formal, but it still has to be appropriate. They often suggest black or brown shoes are always safe and appropriate. And of course, you want to make sure your hair is properly groomed, whether that be you keep a shortcut, whether that be you have your hair a bit longer, but you make sure it's combed. Um, just making sure your hair is appropriate. If your hair is locked, making sure it's neat locks, because of course you represent the company. And so therefore, oftentimes they're looking for persons that give a good representation, a clean and a neat representation on behalf of the company. As it relates to women, what could happen is women, you're looking for, depending on the environment again, sometimes a suit is appropriate, a dress may be appropriate, a skirt may be appropriate. And in some instances, some environments, maybe it's not because it's a more casual environment. Whatever it is, you want to meet the requirements of the environment based on the atmosphere in there. Is it formal? Is it informal? Is it casual? You want to pay attention to that in your work environment. If you're going to use things like jackets, you make sure they're conservative. And if you want to put pops of color in there, you just, don't need to do too much. Try to be simple with pops of color. That's what I always like, simple with pops of color. And it shouldn't be difficult. Stick with your blues, your grays, your blacks, those neutral light colors that can be easily dressed up, that can add that you could easily add pops of color without adding too much color, because you want to make sure you look like you're at work, not that you're going out. Okay. If you have shirts, collared shirts are nice as well, just like similar to men's shirts, in solid colors. Those are perfect as well too. You want to use, depending on how formal the environment is, you want to use hosiery if you want to. If it makes you feel comfortable, hosiery being stockings or knee highs or something like that, depending on the environment. Dressed up environments tend to, you look more neater or you look better when you wear stockings. But of course, that one isn't a must. I've noticed that that's been not happening lately, but it is one of those things, depending on, like I said, how formal the company is. Closed toe shoes as much as possible. Most times, if you're wearing open toe shoes, it's considered to be casual. And so most businesses don't want casual every day. So they tend to ask you to wear closed toe shoes and of course, neutral colors or, something that's simple colored as well. You want to have non-distracting jewelry. So too much jewelry at work is not appropriate. Nose rings, extra earrings may not be appropriate in a work environment. So therefore, you want to make sure you avoid non-distracting jewelry. Skirts should, of course, not be too short. If you're wearing a skirt or a dress, it really shouldn't be too short, because then that takes it out of the work environment and makes you think a little bit more like you are, going out for a night on the town or going out somewhere. And so you want to make sure that they are not too short as well. Nails need to be properly groomed. So depending on where you work, you're going to see that some work environments require you to have low cut nails, or if you have extensions to your nails that they can't be too long or too flamboyant, you want to keep it as simple as possible in the work environment. And of course, your hair should always be neat and groomed. Another thing that I've noticed as well in office environments, maybe they don't want too many colors in your hair or certain colors in your hair. And so you want to pay attention to how the office environment feels about it before you put it in, or before you get a certain style or purchase a certain thing, because you always want to be respectful of the office environment. For persons with tattoos, it's always expected, or it's always more professional if those tattoos are not seen at work. And so that's a suggestion as well, covering up any tattoos, making sure that they're not obvious in the work environment. All right, last but not least, let's talk about office equipment. And so as office workers, as you would have seen, one of the skills were being able to work computers, as well as being able to use certain office equipment. So let's talk about some of these office equipment very briefly. There is office equipment that helps you to create documents like letters and memos and ads and things like that. That's going to be your computer and maybe a voice recorder. We have office equipment that help you to communicate. That could be things like your scanners helping you to share paper documents with others, being able to complete send faxes via fax machine, telephones. Very important to know how to operate them properly so that you don't cause a company additional money. We have equipment that helps with copies. That's your printers, being able to print, whether it be an inkjet printer or a laser jet printer. These are two types of printers. One works with mostly ink and one not so much, I guess. And so once you have an idea and you remember there are two types of printers, you should be good to go. We have something like a plotter, which is a big machine that allows you to copy big, what do you call those things? Plans, building plans, or room plans. They are often on bigger pieces of paper, and so plotters help you to be able to print out very big documents. We have photocopiers, which allow you to take one sheet of paper or multiple sheets of paper, put it in, and it duplicates it or makes a copy of it for you. We have a risograph, which is another one that helps you to make copies of certain other things. It's not very common, it's very old. We have professional documents or equipment that allows you or helps you to create professional documents like reports and presentations and things like that. So these are things like a guillotine, which is usually used to help cut paper. Normally you put it, it looks like this, and you put the paper down and it cuts the paper for you. You pull the handle down and it cuts the paper. You have a laminator, which allows you to put a single piece of paper into a document. Once you slide it through, it coats the paper in plastic, making it more durable, making it harder. A lot of teachers use that for their things that they put around the classroom. And then you have binding machines. Binding machines are just machines, let's see, that help you to create this coil. Oops, let's see if you can see it. Can you see it? Okay, so maybe you can't see it, but okay. They help you to create these coils and put things together. Normally you would put it into the machine as regular paper, and the machine would stamp all of the individual holes in it, and then also assist you with putting the spirals into it effortlessly, as opposed to trying to do all of that manually. So that's the actual machine for that. When we talk about destroying documents, I have bind here, but I think I was more referring to, what was I referring to? A shredder? A shredder is a piece of office equipment that helps you to shred documents, destroy documents. So you normally put the paper in and it cuts it up into tiny pieces. And then normally you just, when the bag is full, you just throw it out to trash. But it helps you to destroy documents. And then there are some other things that help you to be able to get other media items. So take pictures, you need something like a digital camera. If you want to share a video, you want something like a projector. If you want to record a video, you want something like a video camera. All of these things are helpful in an office environment. And so as office workers, normally what happens is you get to learn how to use a lot of these things when you actually get into the office space. Somebody is always going to be available or should be available to help you through it. And so the first time you're shown it, and after a while, you just get used to using it and you become a pro, become a professional at using a lot of these different office equipment. So that's it for this particular section. It's very straightforward. We talked about the professional office worker and the skills that they need, the traits that they need, the qualifications that they need. And so, like I said, what you want to do is just make sure you identify some common ones that can be applied throughout. That way, no matter what position they ask you for, you have an idea. Everybody, no matter where in office space, should be trustworthy. They should be reliable. They should be honest. They should be ethical. They should have computer skills. They should have communication skills. They should have math skills. They should have reading skills. These are basic things that any office worker needs to have. And so it's something you can be familiar with. We also talked about why it's important to have these relationships or have a lot of these good skills and traits, because in office space, you need to have good relationships with those that work along with you. And so having a lot of these good skills allow you to have better relationships, which makes your job easier, getting things done and working with others easier. You're expected to know how to work well with others. You're expected to be reliable and dependable and honest and willing to learn, and you're expected to grow in an office space. And these are important things to know. You're also going to learn how to work with certain office equipment, and it's as simple as starting to use one, getting used to it, and being familiar with it, and allowing it to help you to complete the different tasks that you have or to complement the skills that you have as an office worker. Like it says, feel free to get in touch if you have any questions, comments, or if you just want to talk. Check you in the next video. Hi, Brenda here. I just want to take the time to say thank you for choosing this course. Thank you for choosing yourself and for preparing as you should for office procedures, BGCSE. Look forward to more from me and Business Teacher Powell, and I look forward to seeing you in other classes. Bye.